now I'd like to call upon the 13th candidate in Eastern Ontario, the newest member of Tim Budak's team of candidates, next MVP for Ottawa Orleans, Andrew Lister.
Thank you everybody for coming tonight. It's a beautiful August evening and you're giving up one of the August evenings to be here and I really appreciate it. It means a lot. Je voulais surtout remercier mon associé Chantal, M. Galipo pour vos commentaires extrêmement gentils et j'espère mériter. A little bit louder. Okay. I'm new to this business. I don't think that's any secret. So I asked a number of people what would be expected of a nomination speech. And after they all finished saying, keep it short, by God, keep it short, they said there's three things that you need to tell everybody that's in the room, and through them, everybody that's in the riding. Who are you? Why you're running? And what you think you can do for the people of Ottawa Orleans. So I'll stick to those 3 points. And if there's any questions afterwards, I'd like to speak with anybody one-on-one. Who am I? We've heard a little bit. I'm from Ottawa. I grew up in Ottawa. I left to go to the Maritimes with my father, who's a federal civil servant, who got transferred there. I did an undergraduate in French and history at Dalhousie University. I took my law studies at McGill University and at the London School of Economics in London, England. I lived in France for a couple of years teaching and working. I articled in Toronto, and then I came back to Ottawa. Après avoir vécu un peu partout au monde, plusieurs différentes villes au Canada et ailleurs en Europe, je savais toujours que j'allais revenir à Ottawa. Ottawa is where I wanted to start a family. Ottawa is where I wanted to build a practice. Having lived elsewhere in Canada, I understood the richness of this city, the beauty of the English-French mixture, which works extremely well, and here's where I came back. I've practiced law for about 18 years, specializing primarily in litigation, labor, and employment. And I'm one of the rare labor and employment lawyers that you'll find in Ottawa, I dare say, that acts for employers, acts for unions, and acts for individuals. And the reason I do that is because sometimes I think the employer's right, sometimes I think the union's right, and sometimes I think the individual is right. And I have a flexibility to choose the clients that I wish, and I choose people that I think I can help. And I think I can make a difference for them. I'd like the opportunity to do the same thing for the voters in Ottawa Orleans, help them in the same manner. The next question, the second one, is why am I running with Tim Budak and the Ontario Progressive Conservatives? I think the same reason as most candidates. 3 primary areas. We're fed up with tax increases. It's difficult for the middle class, for most people, to make ends meet. And every time you turn around, the Premier says one thing and he does exactly the opposite. And it's happening again in this recent election campaign. So you can't trust him not to increase your taxes. The second main reason is the quality of services. In the last 8 years, in spite of doubling the provincial deficit, has anybody noticed that extra $150 billion in debt remarkably transformed the province, let alone Ottawa Orleans? I must say I haven't noticed that. For all that money spent, you would expect a lot more value in return. So somebody else needs to be entrusted with ensuring that our schools will be safe and provide top quality education. Que ça soit en français, que ça soit en anglais. Somebody else needs to be entrusted that hospital wait lines don't go around the clock, 12, 13, 14 hours. Put guarantees in place and hold the Minister of Health and hold the hospital administrators to those targets, or else replace them with somebody that will do. Other provinces seem to be capable of doing this. I don't know why Ontario is any bit less. And the third reason that I believe Tim Budak should be the next Premier is because of problems in governance. A government that promises one thing and does another. We have taxes that are snuck in when nobody's looking on 9,000 items. No advance notice whatsoever. No proper legislation going through. And then when the public finds out and reacts appropriately, rescind it, which tells you that they got cut with their hand in a cookie jar and pulled it out when mom walked into the kitchen. So if they thought it was right, they shouldn't have rescinded it, It was the right thing to do. They should have made it public. They didn't do any of those things. I think that there's too much waste in the federal and the provincial civil service. 630 commissions. Nobody even knows what half of them do. And we wonder why we have a debt, and we wonder why we have a deficit. And as a father, and hopefully someday a grandfather, and perhaps I'm lucky enough to see that day a great-grandfather, if the debt continues to rise, if the deficit continues to be underdressed, more and more money will go to service the debt or the deficit. Less and less money will be available for fixing the 417 and 174, for ensuring that we have world-class hospitals, universities, and schools for our children, and keeping the environment safe. So it's really a question of, do we put our money into interest, paying the debt, or do we bring down the debt, bring down the deficit to allow more money for more options for us, but as importantly, if not more so, for children and our grandchildren. So those are the three reasons that I'm running as a progressive conservative this election. What do I think I can offer people of Ottawa Orleans? Well, I certainly can't offer experience in politics. I'm new. What I can offer is my word that I will do everything I can to make sure that the east end of Ottawa benefits to some extent, autant que les régions ouest de la ville. Et je pense pas que c'est un accident. Quand on voit ceux qui sont les députés dans l'ouest, ceux qui sont les députés dans l'est, we see incredible infrastructure. We see incredible improvements elsewhere. Why not in the eastern part of Ottawa? Why is it that there has to be an election for Mr. McNeely to promise again and again that he'll fix the split? Why is it that this part of the city has to wait until an election before there'll be a promise in healthcare dollars? We're worth as much as people anywhere else in this province, and yet, unfortunately for reasons raised by Mr. Galipo, this end of the city doesn't get necessarily the same attention and the same funding, and part of the reason we've heard is because the local individual isn't able to work as well with other levels of government. That's something I can offer. The work that I've done with charitable boards, my work as a lawyer, my work as an employer, teaches me that we have to work well with others. You respect them, hear where they're coming from, and if you're all driving towards the same goals, which all three levels of government should be, you will achieve them. Well, that hasn't happened in this part of Ottawa, and it's time that that changed. I'm very glad to see Mr. Monette here. Mr. Monette worked for many years with Mr. McNeely, and yet he is already and will publicly endorse me as his choice as the next MPP for this part of Ottawa. Why? He's frustrated with the inability of the current incumbent to get the job done. And I dare say, Mr. Monette, it would be less important to you the political stripe of the MPP, regardless of what party they're with. What's important to you for your constituents is that their interests are best served by cooperation with the three levels of government. Ça marche pas, il faut changer indépendamment. I thank you very much for your endorsement. I thank you all very much